Greetings and salutations, Second Star right back with more Raid Shadow Legends, and here on our screen we have Seneschal. Seneschal is part of the Gryptic Mossbeard fusion. There's only a couple days left. I have scant time remaining before I must cast Seneschal along with his other fusion friends through the portal and exchange their souls from the Elder Gods for a Gryptic Mossbeard. But I thought, while I have him built, let's throw some gear on him, take him for a test drive, see where he's good, where he isn't, what makes him good, what makes him bad, what makes him tick. Is there any reason where if I get a duplicate Seneschal at some point in the future, will I want to rebuild him? Okay, so here's what I found out. He's actually very similar to the Umbral Enchantress, right? Umbral Enchantress also has an AoE provoke, just like Seneschal does. So they kind of serve the same purpose, right? But after we go through Seneschal's skills and what he does and how he's set up, you may wonder why anyone would use Seneschal in place of the vastly superior Umbral Enchantress. So anyway, let me go into some reasons why not, and what we have here. Okay, so Bloodied Mace is his A1. Attacks one enemy with a 30% chance of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns. Okay, so that's good, right? Leech is a really good buff. It's been improved a couple patches ago. So Leech is now super viable, especially in endgame when you're dealing a lot of damage. You get a lot of healing back. Leech is pretty awesome now. This damage is based on defense and attack, so he's a defense-based champion, but it also uses his attack skill a little bit. The ratio is 2.6 and 2. I don't know if that's 2.6 from defense plus the twice the attack. I don't know how it's calculated beyond there, but I know that that's the ratio because that's what the spreadsheet tells me. Okay, so you can get that debuff chance from 30% up to 40%, which is not bad for an A1. Excuse me. Misdirect is another interesting skill. Places a perfect Veil buff and a 15% continuous heal buff on an ally for 2 turns. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, but you can get that down to 2 turns. So theoretically, you can have a perfect Veil and a continuous heal going on someone all the time. Okay, that's good, but it's also bad, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Okay, where this kind of comes undone is his Lordly Challenge, which is his key skill, right? This is the AoE provoke. It also has a counterattack. Lordly Challenge places a counterattack buff on the champion for 2 turns, has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. That's awesome, right? A provoke, you counterattack, and you are just dealing damage right back to your opponents, potentially putting leeches on all of them for everyone else to heal from. Not bad at all. It's really good, except it's only a 50% chance to place. So a 50% chance to place on your A3, which is supposed to be your signature key skill for most of them, it's not going to cut it. I mean, when I see 50% chance on A3, I'm like, no, get out. Get out of my house. Get off the bus. You are not riding with the team. I do not like that at all. Yes, you can get it up to 100% with 6 books and a cooldown down to 4 turns. So, I mean, that's good, right? If you want to invest the books, which I don't. I very rarely book my champions. Books are so hard to come by in this game. I favor champions that don't require books. They can still perform without having to book them all the way. It's Player's fault. It just is, because books are just too hard to come by. They're too valuable. They're too expensive. If you want to use real money to buy them, they cost you an arm and a leg. It's a crazy amount. So this champion needing 6 books just to be viable, it's a bridge too far for me. I think if he was at level 60 and then fully booked, maybe so. I might be able to see it, because then you're on a team of 60s and your leech is going to be much more valuable. Your counterattack buff to go along with the provokes, you're going to be able to hit for more damage. The problem is that misdirect that we talked about before, the perfect veil and the continuous heal. He can perfect veil himself, okay, which is weird. Okay, so it might not be much of a problem if it's fully booked, but he could potentially misdirect himself and then no one attacks him, and so he gets no bonus benefit from the counterattack. He doesn't, put on the additional leeches. It's just it's kind of a mess the way that works. It's unfortunate, but that's the way the design is even though it says an ally, he can do it on himself. I've seen it happen, and it was baffling and befuddling, to say the least. I just mastered this guy a little bit. I went defense. An argument can be made for skipping defense and going attack. Then, of course, you need a little bit of accuracy, especially if you're unbooked and you only have a 50% chance to hit. You certainly don't want it to be resisted. So all the accuracy that you can get is beneficial at this level. Okay, now artifacts. Again, with the Umbral Enchantress theme, Umbral Enchantress, her A1 works like a Fury set. Okay, so for the uninitiated, a Fury set is a 4-piece set where your damage increases as your hit points decrease. Okay, so I think what it does is it just takes the raw damage that you're doing and adds a certain percentage modifier to it. I don't know what that percentage is, but as you get lower and lower in health, you do more damage, and you can see that that's baked into Umbral Enchantress's A1. And so here I kind of tried to mimic Umbral Enchantress as much as I could by using a Fury set, and it's effective. Now it might make Seneschal's stats a little bit messy. We'll go over his total stats right now, but I didn't have a perfect Fury set, so I just kind of rolled with what I had. Okay, so low hit points because you want him to be targeted, right? But high defense, well, high for level 50, 150 speed, which is fine for what I need him for. Crit rate 102. I did have a different build where I had more defense and less crit, but his damage was so bad when he didn't crit that I just went back to the crit rate. I couldn't fit in a higher crit damage, which you really want, but at least if I'm maintaining crits, I at least get the higher damage numbers. The 89% helps, and then over 100 accuracy, which is fine for the level of dungeons that I'm doing right now, but ideally you want as much accuracy as you can to land those provokes. I have a broken set here, but this is a defense percentage. This is crit rate percentage at 6 stars, which is a nice piece because it also rolled with 3 crit damage rolls, so that's kind of nice. Speed boots that were Fury, and then these are both defense. Both the ring and the neck are defense. Okay, so how does he perform? Well, let's see. This is actually a fairly decent run. He's going to go pretty quickly. Elaine's going to go, and then he lands only 2 provokes, which is out of 5, and that's kind of what you would expect. It's on the, what are you going to do? It's the 50%. It just sucks. It sucks. It's something that he just needs books in, and I don't want to do it. I'm certainly not going to do it with a champion that I'm going to sacrifice, right, to get the legendary because it's part of the fusion. But as you can see, he's very middling, right? He's not super impressive. I mean, yeah, it's cool that he has, the counterattack, and Gore Grab is, giving some additional damage, and Vergis is leading, so he's getting some additional defense from the defense lead. But his hits are really low. He never hits for over 10,000, I don't think, in this entire fight. He's consistent because he's always going to crit, right? But it's not going to do a lot of damage because I don't have a big crit damage on him, so he's just kind of there, right? Again, he usually only lands 2 out of the 5 provokes. He's underwhelming. He's underwhelming at this level. If he was provoking everybody, I think that'd be awesome, but very rarely does that happen, right? And then think of the dungeons that you can play him in, right? That's Ice Golem, I think, is his best fit. All right, so because it has the minions that constantly respawn, right? And the one puts the heal down, which is a pain in the butt, but you want it to land on him, right? Especially in the Fury set, because you want his hit points to stay low. So, but you still want healers on the team, of course, because everyone else is going to be getting hit with the boss's AoEs and everything too. So you have this delicate balance. Where you think that Seneschal would fit very nicely in there, right? If he's provoking, see, he landed both provokes that time, which is nice. And now we have the heal down, which is just what we want. But unbooked, this is a rare occurrence. I've fought this fight 20 times, and most of the time it ended in tears, right? It was just a mess. This is by far the best run that I had with this team composition. And this is indeed one of the only team compositions I could really get to work, right? So, in here he put the misdirect on Vergis, who's the defense lead, who has the most hit points and the most defense. Now, granted, he's opposite affinity, right? So maybe that's why. he put it on there, but you'd think that he'd put it on the squishiest champion, which would be Dark Elaine, because the Seneschal, of course, has the affinity bonus, but now he puts it on her because she has the least amount of hit points. It's weird. I don't know how the AI decides where to put the misdirect on, but sometimes it's weird. Now, this is one of the few fights I've seen where he doesn't misdirect himself. I don't think he misdirects himself this entire time. But there's a lot of times when he misdirects himself, and I'm like, what are you doing? You want to be hit, and he just wouldn't do it. I mean, the AI can't know that he's in Fury gear, but still, right? It'd be nice if he didn't put misdirect on himself. It's just kind of baffling. So, as I was saying, he's really good in this dungeon because we have the 2 minions that constantly respawn. But where else, right? We have 2 minions in the potion dungeons, which is nice. But most times in boss fights, his only utility is the leech, right? So at this level, probably not going to be super useful, right? As you see, our heals are super low, right? Because we're not dealing a whole lot of damage at this level. When you're level 60 and you're in all 6-star gear and you're dealing massive amounts of damage, leech is amazing. At this level, not really effective. So on Fire Knight, he's going to have no utility whatsoever once he gets to the boss. In Spider, you'd think he'd have a lot of utility, but if he misdirects himself in an inopportune time, you could wipe the entire team and ruin your run. Just not a lot of places that Seneschal is super useful. Arena, I think would be good. I'm in gold 4, so I can't bring a 5-star guy in there, and with the provoke, he'd be dead instantly. It would be a waste of time. But I can see, a high-level Seneschal, provoking everybody, gives you a nice turn of being able to recuperate and organize your attacks. I could see that, I guess. But overall, he's just not very good in a lot of places. And even in this dungeon, level 20, he's opposite Affinity 4. So you can take him up to 19, and then, still won't be able to use him in Ice Golem's 20. So he's just not a good champion. He's probably I'm probably the most disappointed in this champion than any champion I've brought to level 50 in the entire time I've been playing Raid. I'm not happy with this champion, and it's because of the A3. If he had an 80% chance to land his provokes on A3 like Umbral Enchantress does, she has an 80% on her A2 and on her A3, then I think maybe we'd have a potentially more viable champion. Unfortunately, he's just so unpredictable, and again, unbooked at this level. I just couldn't see it. I think at 6 stars, maybe, on a good team. He definitely has some utility, but there are just other champions out there. I'd much rather have Umbral Enchantress, who does almost the same thing that he does. That's just the way I see it. If you have some experience with Seneschal, and I'm just doing this wrong, let me know. I understand that I did kind of kludge it a little bit by putting him in Fury gear, which you'd think you'd probably just need a mix of defense and some attack. I don't even know. I don't know. He has a weird setup. Accuracy and defense, I guess, is pretty what you want. They need the crit. He needs everything, I guess. So I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in Seneschal. And again, some of it's probably my fault, but the 50% A3 is killing me. He's just a champion that needs books to succeed. He's evidently a voracious reader, right? And you have to take him to the used bookstore and get him a whole bunch of first editions, right? Epic books to make him work. And I just don't. That's not for me. It's not for me. You might have a different, your mileage may vary. You might have a different opinion. Great. But for me, I'm never using Seneschal again, unfortunately. All right. If you have a different experience, please put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. I want to see if you have a video. Something I did not search ahead of time for videos for Seneschal. I usually do to see if I have anything to add, but I didn't do that this time. So hopefully this isn't redundant information for anybody. But drop me a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to see more. I will have another guide some point this weekend. So this was a disappointment, and I'm sorry to say. If you look at the score, it doesn't look that bad, but and we got through the fight, I guess. But again, I usually, when I do a video, I try to make the showcased champion shine, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it, and you know, I feel like I let people down. I usually like to find a really good use for a champion. Unfortunately, without a lot of resources, I couldn't do it for this guy. So that's how it is. But I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.